and welcome back to another monthly plan with me. I feel like I've said this a lot recently for my setups, but I think August is probably one of my favorites, and it's very colorful. I started using some coloring pencils in it, which I don't normally do. I'm more like a marker sticker girly, but this one challenged me in the best possible ways. As you can see, I'm not really using a ruler here, which for me is a big deal. You know how I always talk about like getting straight lines and stuff like that. And admittedly, I am just tracing over lines that I already made. To make this like deck of cards there, but I am so happy that I did not use a ruler for a good portion of this. It was a challenge. My perfectionist heart was, seeing some issues where it was like scraggly or not looking that great. And part of the problem too is I also think that I'm not that good at drawing. So this was a challenge, but it was a challenge that I rose to and a challenge that I love. And if you can't tell yet, my theme for the month of August is actually Uno cards. So I have a whole playing deck of Uno cards throughout this entire spread, and I love it. I love it, but I can honestly say that as I filled in this first one, I realized that maybe this was an undertaking because, you guys, you've only seen about a minute of me doing this so far. But when I tell you that up until that first Uno card getting colored in was about an hour and a half, maybe, of work, it was a lot. It was a lot. It was definitely a time intensive spread for me, but it was good because I've also noticed that the more I have on my mind, or the more I want to think through, the more intense my spreads are sometimes, because it's just kind of like meditative for me. But yeah, so as you can tell, the spread for the month of August is going to be Uno. I did see kind of like a picture of this online years ago, and it was always in the back of my mind, like, oh, maybe do an Uno spread, and I couldn't figure it out. Until this month. I was stumped until a day ago, and then I was like, you know what, you could do an Uno spread. And funnily enough, I used my library card. I just got a library card back in Toronto for the first time in a couple of years, which is so weird to me because I've always had a library card. But I used my library card to do the outline of the Uno cards, and because I'm a perfectionist and I know I can't draw ovals freehand, that's like the cap of a deodorant that made the kind of like that oval section in the middle there that I just kind of like offset and traced into my book. So, stencils and things to do your journaling spreads are all around you, is kind of all I could say there. I do have to kind of chuckle because I did make a pretty massive mistake in this that I didn't realize until afterwards. So as I go to put the month, I was like, oh, 8 for August has to be the top card. I go and write July? Like July 2024? I don't know. It is currently July as I'm doing this, but I just completely blanked. It's never happened to me before. Wrote July 2024, was like, this is perfect, and then just continued going. So you will see that get fixed a little bit later on. But yeah, I definitely wrote July down on my cover page. Funnily enough, knew it was August for the rest of it, but not for my July cover page. And then I kind of just went in with another set of Uno cards for my month at a glance. You will see, I'm not going to have you guys watch me color in every single Uno card. My camera does die at one point because, like I said, as I'm coloring in this, it's like the 2.5 or almost like 3 hour mark of me doing this. So I did stop and color in all the pages off camera and then start just like doing my spreads. But I kind of love Uno. I've worked with camp kids a lot in the past, and Uno was like a really easy game for them. You just kind of like pop it out and almost every kid knows how to play it. I won't lie, some of those kids are vicious. Like a +4 and a +4 do not count. Even Uno as a company has said that you cannot put a +4 on top of a +4 and have someone pick up 8. But, I've had some good times playing Uno. I did switch up my month at a glance page a little bit this month. So I still have focus on 3 things to do. But I decided to include, like, what did I accomplish with this month and what didn't go well and how could I, like, improve it or make it a little bit different. It's just a little bit of, like, introspection there for me. I just want to kind of, like, in the book so that I could flip back to. It's something that I already think of, but I think I just need like a more formal written log of that. I also am currently going through a phase where I am really in my head and I need that reminder of what I accomplished over the month. Even if it's something really simple, just like you got up every morning and you went to work and you moved the dial forward. And then I got into my habit tracker and my mood tracker, which is a new one for me. But essentially for habits, I decided to keep it a little bit simple. I think for the past little bit, I have been doing like the little calendar, sometimes on a Dutch door has been my go-to. And just circling like the date on each calendar as I complete it or coloring it in. But for this time, I opted just to do kind of big rectangular box with the dates at the top, and I am going to put a dot in for each time that I like hit that thing for the month. So I'm still tracking the same 6 things: journaling, 8 hours of sleep, working out, water, skincare, and when I do a face mask. I might put a 7th one in there. I'm just not sure. I'm kind of debating it currently. And then I put in a mood tracker. So this one is new for me. You guys have never seen me do a mood tracker. It's not something that I normally kind of pay attention to. But like I said, July and June were kind of a roller coaster for me. So I figured it might be beneficial to kind of track and see what is going on. There was a time when I was younger where I thought something was happening and then I realized that something was triggering me and making me feel a certain specific way. So really just trying to see, like, is something making me so sad or just kind of feeling off and what's going on, and just kind of getting a better read, like a visual read on kind of how I'm feeling over the course of a month, because sometimes it's easy to feel as if it's every single day. For my scheduled content, essentially keeping it really simple. I'm going back to one of my much previous spreads where I just have the titles of the thing, the days that I'm trying to post on YouTube, and everything from there. Keeping it nice and simple. And then I have my content calendar. So going into this, I really wanted it to look as if it was like a pile of cards. And then this calendar was just going on top of this pile, I guess, of cards that I had, which is why none of those cards are actually, you don't see like a full card. And I really, really liked how this turned out. It was definitely a labor of love. It took a lot of planning for me, and I was like, how are you going to execute this? But I actually really like how it turns out. I think it's really cute. So then I just put the calendar there in the middle, and then I have my 4 little boxes for the colors that I coordinate things to. So the podcast, the short form content, kind of like AA content, so like that's just me, and then YouTube long form, and I could just put it in there. And this is where I messed up. So I was like not gonna cut this out with scissors, and then I was like, why is it so hard to cut this? And I realized I cut through into the page after as well, and I was like, oh, you're so stupid. How do you do that? It's like one of my worst fears, actually, with an X-Acto knife and cutting Dutch doors, is that I'm going to cut the page behind me entirely, and I'm so happy I found it as the page was still like intact, if that makes sense. Like I didn't cut out a whole section and then it's like not there. But I also had this moment where I was like, you know what, thank God you save all your scrap paper from those Dutch doors. So we did a little bit of a patch situation here, cutting it out for the front and back of the page and just gluing it on and making it look spick and span. I think I was so rattled by it that I also put glue on the wrong side of the page here, which is why you see like partly June in the word kiwi, because this is what I scrap pages from my June setup. But essentially, yeah, I just glued it on to the top there and made it look like new-ish. I can see it. I know it's there. I know it happened, but it is better than the alternative of having, because all of these were already colored in, of having to figure out a way to make it work and like my content to create page, how to like take that out, because as you'll see, my weeklies, which I'd already done and colored, are a little bit complicated and I couldn't like move a page over with them. So essentially, just for short form, I went in and used the Uno colors to make my little boxes. After I finished this, I was like, oh, you should have made them cards. Like you could have done each one was a card and fill in the card. But I just, you know what? I think I tapped out when it came to designing that page. I was like, we're good. I don't need to do anything else. And then we got into the weeklies. So I essentially just wrote down the days of the week. As you can see, it's slightly offset there to the side. I went like 4 in and wrote it. Admittedly, it's not my favorite weekly setup. I can already tell that I might be a little bit like not loving it in general. I feel like maybe I should have just wrote Monday through Friday underneath the side and called it a day. I do go in afterwards and include lines underneath like all of those days so that it's a little bit more separated into like actual sections for each day. But yeah, what I really like about this spread though is the tabs. So you saw me there, I cut out the tab for that card on the first page there, and then I'm cutting out the tab on the second page as well. So I cut around that number 4, and essentially it all looks, when it's completed, it all looks as if it's just like each week is a card and they're all layered down the page like a waterfall tab. So I really liked it. Like I said, I'm trying to force myself to be a little bit more like creative and stuff with my Bujo spreads this year, which is partly why I was posting it on the internet, and I think I accomplished it. So that is my setup for August of 2024. Like always, feel free to comment, hit that like button, or even subscribe if you want to see more content like this. I love sharing it, and it is really forcing me to be a little bit more creative through the year, through 2024, and do more in my journal. But of course, if you do something similar, feel free to tag me in it and share on Instagram at AdeleAshley_. I always love to see it. Until next time, have a great day.